they
I can share.
okay, great. Hi everybody, welcome to the Surfliner sprint review. We're a little light on team members this time. We have Chrissy is out sick, Michael Stewart is on vacation, and then from the Santa Barbara side, Margaret and Alex are both out. So I'm going to wing it and do the best I can with what we have. In this sprint, we're continuing to aim for having a completely connected Comet with the Golden Gate Discovery environment. And we have a hard deadline at UC Santa Barbara because we promised our campus IT that we could turn off our old Fedora-based dams at the end of this month. I think we're looking good to hit that. But then we're also, been continuing to move ahead with work from the on the UCSD side, both in uh, validating data migration and uncovering some outstanding issues there, and also in implementing the patron-facing discovery features that San Diego folks are going to need. So, just run quickly through the major milestones we're working on. So. Discovery integration. In this sprint, we worked on implementing Arc-based URLs, which would probably also translate to DOI-based URLs. We wanted those at some point. Um, but making that work both in the Golden Gate Search API backend and also in the web patron-facing front end. And then continuing to extend the Golden Gate Search API with some more features, some of which we also have the front end implementations for, and some of which the front end implementation will be coming soon. Um, on the discovery front end, continuing work on just kind of getting everything production ready. Um, Made, I think, some great improvements on developer experience for that hopefully will make things go quickly. Elisa had a great idea about integrating the uh, the front-end application running on the developers' machines with the back-end API running in our QA environment where we have a much richer set of test data. So I think that'll be a big help. And we continued working on our interim solution for controlled values. We now have a shared set of controlled value labels between Comet and Golden Gate. So just getting that working and in use throughout the application. And then continuing to work on uncovering and fixing issues related to large ingest, particularly with migrating San Diego content. So a lot on those themes, discovery integration, we started the work last sprint on using arcs as identifiers and got that mostly working in the back end. This sprint we got it working in the front end as well. Um, I didn't have anything queued up to demo, but maybe I can just find something real quick here. Let's see.
Did you want to share, David?
Yeah, let me find something to share, and
Okay.
then um,
I'd be happy to show the front end work too if you'd like.
that would be great, actually, Lisa. If maybe we can just do that as part of the next segment.
Awesome.
Um, uh, so we continued some work on the search API so that there's now support for filtering against specific properties. So you could do it with keyword search. So you can at least on the back end, you could look for particular words in a title, for instance, and just narrow it to only looking for the title, looking in the title, that kind of thing, or a description, including things that don't necessarily show up in the facet list. Um, and we identified some issues where updates from Comet were not getting published. You had to unpublish and republish the object, but that is now straightened out. Um, So yeah, that's all on track. Elisa, David T, do you want to talk about the discovery development?
Yeah, I can get us started here. So, just like David just said, we were able to complete the support for our Arc-based URLs. We also were able to improve our developer experience by enabling environmental variables to define that API that we now can use, like any one of those environments to test data. So that gives us a actual objects that we can then test our work against while we're developing. We were also able to, at UCSB, update our collection page layout. And then I would love to show, could I go ahead and share and then I'll walk everybody through it and then I'll bat it over to David T to show his campus specific work. All right, give me just a second. Yeah, so a lot of the work was held within the collections page. And so we can now just go to all of the collections that we have available. I like using our Carl Rogers collection. And so here we have a new layout that defines the metadata into a specific layout that's our campus look. Um, we also have, I can show you quickly that our arc is working. So we can just see exactly the same page load when the arc goes. So there's that feature that allow works with all of the objects too.
And that
Um,
will really simplify, when we register those arcs with Easy ID, having it link directly back to the object. We can do that without having to do any database lookup shenanigans or anything like that. So that could be a really at least semi-permanent, long-lived URL for the object.
Yeah,
That'd be
and
great.
so that's really powerful for the user experience, I believe. Like that's gonna help too with our transition from our old system to our new system. So there's also a downloadable image from the front end. So you can come in and you can get your image. There's two places that you can get it. There's a component now available for UCSB. And so work upcoming will be actually ensuring that there is public access for these downloads and show them accordingly, as well as more updates here to this page to make it just, better spacing. But yeah, so we've now got a really nice front end that I feel works in such a nice way that it's just getting ready to go to production. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'll bat it over to David T.
Right on. Let's see. I need to share my screen if that's possible. Okay, I can kind of walk through some of the stuff I worked on, which looking at it from the UC San Diego perspective, like some of the work I did was specific to updating our stuff to use like the same CSS and JavaScript files that campus uses to help us along our path towards having a more accessible and responsive site. I figured like a lot of that stuff was solved with their files, so I just brought it into this space to like give us a little shortcut to that. So that is set up and it kind of has the standard look and feel for like, the headers, footers you can see out there, but it's also like in terms of the page layout and all of the stuff that's going on behind there. But some other work I did too was here on the results page. There were like three, I mean, they're kind of hard to see, but it's basically there's a need for each campus to be able to display its own metadata in this area. So I added some functionality that allows us to basically specify, which items we want to display as the metadata for the list objects. I also added in some functionality, even though they're just coming up as a couple of brokens, but some defaults now. Like there's the ability now for us to set custom thumbnails for our objects and collections. And then also on this page, there was an issue of like, due to the way the microphone ends load, there was a lot of jitteriness. So like when you would load the page, like things would bounce all over the place and it kind of just wasn't the best look. So I worked on making that steady so page load doesn't jitter as much as it used to. And as far as like our object page, let's see, I'll lean on David's sample objects here. But yeah, set up the foundations of our object page to like include a members list and display some of our campus specific metadata, but like also to like there were some bugs with the viewer implementation for our specific page before, and so I fixed those, and now we have the universal viewer working again. And some of the work that I'll be going, well, the work that I will be doing going into the next sprint will be to refine this page even more to clean it up and address functionality specific to UCSD. And I don't know that we did it before, but let me just do this real quick. I wanted to demo our, even though this is a boring object, but like just to let you know that this arc reader stuff works. Um, there's our URL, you click on it and it loads the object. So that functionality was also added to these pages. And I think that covered most of the stuff I had in my list, but yeah, that's my demo.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that stuff is really coming along. It's really great to see. Um, let's see. So the controlled value stuff, there's not really much to show there. We're just continuing to work on implementing that in Comet and like the edit forms and things. We have it working for like one or two token properties on the UCSB side, and we just need to extend that support. And then Golden Gate. What we did was so Golden Gate was using a file-based list of controlled value labels, and then that's what we took for the interim solution for Comet as well. But it was just a copy of the list, and now they're actually sharing the same list, so it only needs to be updated in one place. And we also fixed some longstanding issues in Golden Gate where the the internals didn't quite line up with the M3 schema, the way properties work and that kind of thing. So that should be more reliable going forward, especially if you define properties to work slightly differently for different kinds of objects, like or like if maybe some things are facetable for collections but not facetable for objects or vice versa. Those kinds of things should be working now. Um, and then the ingest improvements, I mean, mostly so um, as the UCSD folks have been doing more test migration type ingests, we've uncovered a fair number of scaling problems, which we're working through. But one of the biggest is that the the uh, the underlying logic in upstream hierarchs for creating thumbnails is just not really intended for the kind of sophisticated objects that we're loading. Um, and that's which has been causing a lot of kind of spurious failures in the ingest process. So already in Golden Gate, we're not even using the hierarchs generated thumbnails. So we've been looking this sprint, and we're going to continue looking next sprint at doing the same thing in Comet and just getting us out of having to deal with that problem. We do still want to use the we still need support for derivative generation in Comet, and we're going to need it even more when we get to AV and things like that. But specifically for the thumbnails, there's just like some unnecessary complexity in getting that to work properly, thanks to the way the Hyrax bulk ingest is architected. So we're hoping to get past that and then get to a place where it's much easier for users to tell whether these large ingests have completed successfully. I know there may still be some outstanding issues around very large files and things like that, but I also think we've worked through a bunch of those already. So um, fingers crossed that will continue to improve. Um, so what's next? Well, we have some more API improvements to make for discovery. Like we want to, we implemented a couple sprints back some visibility flags to allow content to be published, but not necessarily displayed, or possibly metadata only, those kinds of things. So we want to have the discovery API respect that and filter out what the front end gets back. Um, and continue to enhance the search API let you do date range searching, which can be quite complicated if you at all familiar with dates in the cultural heritage metadata space. They can be a lot of different things. Um, but we want to get that working. And right now, we basically only have relevance sort, and that by default is what you get. It also is probably a little better after this sprint than it was. There was some holes in the logic there, so hopefully that's a little more consistent. But we want to let people also filter by other things. I mean, also sort by other things. You want to sort by title, you want to sort by date, whatever it might be. So we'll hopefully start working on implementing that. Um, Elisa, David T, do you want to talk a little bit about that discovery next steps, front end next steps?
I think it's still the same. It's going through and ensuring that our usability and UX is smooth and transitions nicely. There's some work to do on those sorts on the front end, just like you said. We also have, let's see. Um, Yeah, just like little things. It's coming down to just these things I want to improve so that the experience is better. But we have object update layouts or layout updates. We have that visibility, making sure that the UI respects that visibility. So it's all right in line with what you discussed.
Yeah. Um, and I think I kind of gave away the Comet next couple of steps in the last section, but we are going to continue working on the controlled values and get that rolled out for both campuses. We're gonna one way or another put to bed the thumbnail related ingest problems. And then something that we have had on our plates for a while is actually sending metadata to EasyID and um, related to that is supporting DOIs. I know we did some work on DOIs a while back, and we just need to make sure that the what we've been looking at in terms of what metadata we want to send, what we have is what we want to send. Make sure the mapping is correct, and then actually um, get that connected up with EasyID. So yeah. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And Gabriella, I think you can stop the recording. We're still recording.